Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Adam here with Any Farm Life. I have another pond project for you guys today. Got to build another gangway for the dock. As you can see behind me, our water level has come up quite a bit. The repair I made to the overflow several videos ago, coupled with about, 5 inches of rain, has brought the pond up quite a bit. We're creeping up on full here. And as you can see, my old gangway, or current gangway, is underwater. Now I could just pull everything back, but I really kind of like the dock sitting out where it is, so the goal is to make another 16-foot gangway to bring us to shore. And then at some point, pull all these rocks back so they're not so submerged. Really quite amazing how much the water's come up this spring. I just about fell in. Right now I just came out here to get a couple measurements off the gangway. I'm actually gonna build it up at the house and then bring it back out here to install it. Kind of like the Grinch. I'm gonna build it up there, bring it out here. So there are the materials. I probably won't get to decking it today because, like I said, I'm waiting on the barrels and I'd like to do those first. But it's 9 pieces of 16-foot Trex and 6 2x10s. The dock I have has a 2x12 skirt around the outside, but my gangway does not. So the general premise is to take these 4 6x6s, stick those in each of the corners so that you have a little bit more structure in your corners. The cuts aren't pretty or perfect, but I cut these about 1 inch shorter than the 2x10 is tall. But put those in the 4 corners and then basically put a box around it and then start putting braces across it for barrels and for support for the Trex. Alright, so I'm kind of just sailing through this. If you want metrics and a slower look at the build, I have videos when I previously did that. I'll link those at the end of this video. But my slots are going to be 22 inches all the way down for a barrel that's 23 inches in diameter. Also, one thing you do want to do is whenever you cut your pressure treated lumber, seal the ends of that cut with Thompson water seal or some kind of sealer. These pieces here were really just scrap pieces, but they were just long enough. I'm not butted in there, but it's fine. I'm gonna keep moving on. When this is done, it'll hold 7 barrels, so this could also be a floating fishing barge. So we got 7 22-inch channels all the way down here, 3 barrels in a row, then this tight spot here. Maybe this would be a cooler, and then 4 more barrels. Can't do a whole lot more today other than put some screws in the ends. We just kind of quickly tacked it. And may go ahead and put my 2x4 gussets across here. If you remember my other videos, I did that to keep the barrels from pressing up through, but won't be doing that today. Got all the cross braces in to keep the barrels, at least the end that doesn't have the rim on it, from pressing up through. Also, a pro tip, when buying screws, if you have a fair amount of projects and you know you'll use them in time, get a 25-pound bucket. Expensive on the front end, but comes out to about $4.50 a pound versus $11 currently a pound. I'll jump back on here once I have barrels, and then we can stick the barrels in and the decking on, and the hinges. All right, so I have all my barrels out here ready to go, and the gangway's out here. Those are just laying there. So about the barrels, I picked these up on Facebook Marketplace, I believe for $15 a pop. Most of these actually had sulfuric acid in them. Sounds harsh, but you can neutralize the acid or any residual acid that's in them by using baking soda, which is what I did. And the guy told me that the manufacturer had also rinsed these out. So I opened up both bungs, let them vent for a little bit, filled them full of water, rinsed them out, then took a cup or so of baking soda with water, splashed that around for a while until there was no more bubbling, and they cleaned up pretty nice. So I'm not too worried about these. Not to mention they're 100% airtight now. On the bungs, what I did, and I didn't video this, but you can see it in another video I shot, I'll link at the end, when I built the dock. Took the bung out, used plumber's dope, cleaned the bung threads on both the cap and the barrel, then used purple primer, which you see everywhere, and glued those on and cranked them down with a bung wrench, and then came back and put some more sealant on top of them. So these things are solid. Much cheaper than using pond floats. I tried to find barrels online that were used for soaps and detergents. Problem is, the guys who have those only have 3 or 4, and I ended up buying, I think, 20 from this guy. So 7 of them underneath this gangway, 5 under the old gangway, 9 or so barrels for fish habitat, which is a video forthcoming. All right, I'm gonna pop these barrels under the gangway, get this thing floating, and then hopefully get the decking on it. Pretty heavy. Work smarter, not harder. It's a little wobbly. I offset the barrels to each side to help kind of stabilize it out. When I add that Trex decking, it'll help add some weight to set it a little lower. In retrospect, I wonder if I should have added water to the barrels to help it sit a little lower in the water. You could always drill small holes in top and fill them. These aren't going to turn once they have weight. And it looks like when I offset the barrels, I missed some of my gussets across the top here, so I'll have to cut a few more and stick those in before I put decking on. Floats. All right, I got my extra gussets in place, oriented the bungs how I want them, got the barrels offset all the way down. Now I'm just gonna start putting planks on. Gotta find my hardware, and other than that, the hinges and some stain, it's done. So I got all the decking on there, which when you don't have to make cuts is easy. Just line the ends up, slap them on, and width-wise it's perfect. One thing I will say, I talked about using this for a fishing barge. That's not going to happen. If I do want to do that, I need to either A, take a few barrels out so it sits lower and the center of gravity is lower, or B, I should have half filled those barrels so they had some weight underneath it. It's very top heavy, so probably not going to be a fishing barge, but not a big deal. Those two big hinges that go on here will stabilize it left to right. This one's actually going to go between that one and the dock. And so this end here will rest on shore, or at least the last couple feet will. I'll probably put 3 or 4 barrels underneath it. So not a fishing barge. Could be if it was a little bit wider and maybe I, like I said, use a couple less barrels so it sat lower, or filled them for ballast. I noticed when I was up there walking, it'd be very easy to take that thing, just flip it out from under you pretty quick. So after a little bit of time in the water, which surprisingly was not that cold, which will probably change when I start turning the water with aeration, but I got it in and I'm pleased. Long term, I think I'm probably going to end up leaving this setup about right here and maybe build just something to go from the bank out to that gangway there. I need to clean up all the rock formations that were underneath there, because if I were to tuck barrels in this back section, they'd be pressing down on it. But really like that we have an extra 16 foot of, call it runway or gangway, because now when you come out here, you really feel like you're in the middle of the pond. Those hinges are so awesome. If you didn't see them previously, I have a video of reviewing those. So a little bit of stain and maybe a little bridge here. I'd say we're done. I want to find a better way to tie this back. We do sometimes take that floating dock all the way out in the middle and tie it off, but now that we have it that far out, we may not have to. But just these ropes aren't the greatest and they slack up a little bit in the wind, so anchoring this end here and building a bridge is probably the next thing with the dock. Thanks for swinging through the channel and checking out this video. This floating dock's been really good to us, so if you want to build something similar and you have questions, drop me a comment below. I'm happy to answer them. I know Adam over at Hometown Acres wants to build one of these, and maybe I'll even go out and help him. We'll see. As I mentioned before, I got many more pond projects on the way this spring. Hit that subscribe button, come back and see me, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, guys.